Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here to review a fan request. I cannot remember which specific fan it was, but thank you very much for the request. I thought that, honestly, why it's taken so long to review this is because I wanted to integrate all the fan requests into themes. And so I just couldn't come up with some good themes that Safi would like. And so I just decided, well, how about I clump fan requests together and then just say I'm doing a little fan request themed week. So this is the first one. I'll do a couple others as well. I'm going to have to look back to check which other movies, because I remember one of them, and then I think another, but I need to see if there are any others. A couple of friends of mine have suggested movies to me, but honestly, I don't... I really prefer to watch fan-requested movies than to listen to friends' suggestions, because a lot of the times, for some reason, when friends suggest me movies, they suggest me to watch movies that, like, I'm gonna have no interest in, or they know I'm not gonna like it. It's really weird. But then the fans on our channel, they always come with movies that, in my opinion, that are, like, good choices. Like Godzilla versus King of the Monsters, I thought I really liked that. And then Queen of Hearts, that was a good choice after stuff that I reviewed before. And this movie was a great choice. I mean, honestly, I'm so glad that this was suggested to me, the Psycho Goreman, because I was not interested when it came out. All I heard was the title. And honestly, I thought that the title was kind of like a weird Clive Barker sounding movie. Like, it didn't click with me. But now I feel kind of foolish because this movie, it was good. And this movie, it came out in 2020. And honestly, this movie would have been the perfect movie for 2020. I might have put it at like number 3 best movie of the year, right behind The Gentleman and Sonic, because it's pure escapism, it's pure fun, it's pure cheese and joy, and it's just so much fun. And so the story is about these two kids, and they dig up Psycho Goreman in the backyard, and it's this monster demon thing. And they get his little power gem, and they use it to control him. And he comes out, and he's unleashed, and it all goes crazy from there. And I like this movie. You know what? I liked it. When you go into it knowing what you're going to get, it'll be good. I could see some people going into this maybe thinking it's going to take things seriously, and I think that would be the biggest mistake. In fact, the reason that I got excited was because someone on IMDb said that it was like Wishmaster meets Power Rangers. And I thought, oh, that sounds fun. It'd be nice to watch like a fun movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, but still has some great monster effects, some great horror in it. And yeah, it was good. I mean, for starters, let's talk about the characters, because, well, okay, let's zoom out. Let's zoom out to the full picture first and talk about the film itself, what type of a film it is. In my opinion, in the past couple of years, especially, people have started this new genre, and they aren't spoofs and they aren't parodies. They're kind of like an in-between thing where you can tell that this filmmaker, he wants people to take him seriously, but he knows that they're not going to, or he's going to get criticized. So he just goofs off and makes a crappy movie on purpose, which it hardly ever works. This was an exception because it was actually a well-made film. It was actually a good film with good substance, good characters, and entertaining. But there's a lot of them out there like this movie where they're bad on purpose because you can tell the filmmakers they're bad. They don't know how to make a good film. And so they just make trash. And it should almost be called trash cinema because it serves no purpose in the furthering of cinema. It serves no purpose honestly, I am more entertained when I see someone try and fail than to see someone just goof off and fail on purpose. I mean, it's like in a sport. Like, would you rather watch a boxer try to fight and then lose? Or would you rather watch a boxer lose on purpose and then be like, oh, that's good that he got paid after by the mobsters? Like, that's the equivalent here. But this movie is actually good. And I'll explain why, because I know people are just going to be like, why? Why is it good? Why? For starters, to me, I love the effects in this movie. This movie had some really, really good 80s practical effects. I love the look of the Psycho Goreman. To me, he kind of looks like Jeepers Creepers, especially when he puts on that hat and, that outfit when he goes out to play the game with the kids. Crazy Ball, I think they called it. He looked a lot like Jeepers Creepers, which was funny. And then you had Alistair, the big brain monster. And you had the villain who was like this kind of like... She was like a Transformers, Power Rangers looking character. But I love the effects in this movie. They were so good. It was so refreshing to see something where the blood isn't computer generated and there's not all these green screen. I mean, I would understand people using green screen because they do in this movie, but I mean like green screening monsters and just these ugly, dumb, fake looking things. Because when you use these practical effects, people kind of know that they're fake, but if they're good, you can still give them the illusion that they're real, and you can still pull them into the story that you're watching with good effects. Like, just think about Christopher Lee as Dracula. Just these simple little things that they did to him to make him into Dracula, and he is scary as hell. I used to be terrified of him as a kid, even though I knew that it was fake and I was inspired by him to want to be a filmmaker. I still thought he was scary. And the characters, though, I would say the characters is one of the weaknesses of the film. Because no matter if a film is funny or serious or whatever, you always want to have good characters who, you want them to reach their goal, or you don't want them to reach their goal, and that's the fun of the film. And so, for instance, in the new Batman movie, even though the movie was a piece of shit, you still wanted the Batman to succeed, obviously, because he's the Batman. He wants to, quote-unquote, help people by, quote-unquote, fighting crime, by solving mysteries. Okay, I don't want to talk about that crap anymore. Or Dirty Harry, he's stopping a killer. A killer going around terrorizing people, kidnapping, murdering. Like, that guy was evil. And you want to see Dirty Harry succeed. You want to see him shoot those bank robbers. That awesome scene where he shoots the bank robber's car and then he goes up and he does the whole little monologue thing with the, do you feel lucky? I mean, that is a good character. The characters in this movie are very flat. but they're still good. I mean, there are a few good characters that I liked. So for starters, I really loved the two main kids. I loved Mimi and Luke. Mimi was like, she was on another level of awesome. Like, she was so not the usual type of kid character in a film, and it was so funny. Okay, sorry about that. It was so funny how she was like, you know, a wisecracker. Like, she was savage and brutal, and almost even more brutal than the bad guys. And so it was really funny seeing this not typical movie character in this little girl. I mean, if she went in a room full of bad guys, she wouldn't be that intimidated. She reminded me a little bit of Hit Girl from Kick-Ass. And so she was good. I liked her a lot, actually. Even though, you know, she was bad on purpose. They were all bad on purpose. And I think that is a bit of a problem, because sometimes in the movie that it does fall flat in terms of, okay, like, you know, you know what I mean? Like, when you watch a bad actor, even if they're doing a funny thing, like, for instance, I used to love watching The Nostalgia Critic. Ugh. And I would watch him every week. That's how bored I used to be. And I would love watching his skits sometimes, but I knew these are bad actors. They're really, really bad. And it would just come across all the time, even though, like, a lot of the time I would be still laughing. There were some times where I was like, ugh, like, his most infamously bad video was obviously that video he did making fun of The Wall. Wasn't that what it's called? The Wall? You know, the one about the I think it was Pink Floyd. I can't remember because I don't really know anything about music at all. That's not my strong suit. But it was so cringeworthy that and there were a couple of moments like that in the movie, but not too much. Like, the little girl was on fire. I would definitely love to see her in a sequel and see, you know, more of her being like this, because it was so funny. Like, there were moments that, like, just had me laughing and laughing with her, especially the the first moment where there was Psycho Goreman, and then she's leaving and she says, "Bye!" It just goes on and on and on and on. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. I love that. That was so funny. And then the brother, though, I like the brother because, of course, they did have a little bit of seriousness with him in terms of the fact that she's so mean to him the whole movie. And to be honest, if you have a mean sibling and you have a chance to make them pay, you're going to make them pay. Okay, I had a shithead brother who, there was one time where he was chasing me with a slug, and he was going to make me eat the slug. And so he came running in the back door, and I was running in the back door into the house, and I slammed the back door into him, and I had him get like 22 stitches in his back, because I broke the glass door on his back. So that's what happens, though. Like, when you have a sibling who treats you like shit and who is a complete terrible person to you, even if they're your sibling, you're going to F them up if you have the chance. And so I kind of like that. That was a little dark at the end. I wish that they would have gone more into that, of course, because I guarantee that they could have gone really, really dark with it if they wanted to. And honestly, I would have liked that as well, because they ended up kind of going the sweet and, you know, traditional cliche type of way at the end. And that's a problem that I always have with these types of movies, where they say that they're very not typical. Like, you know, they have this little girl, she's like She's very mean. She's just completely like talking off, telling off her parents, all sorts of crazy things. Like she's really crazy. But then they'll have all these other elements of the movie that are completely cliche and traditional. It just doesn't make sense that with such a out of the out of the wall or out of the box characters and story that then you would go in the box at the end. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. They did the same thing with the Addams Family animated movies. You have these very untraditional characters in this very cliche by the number story. It's not good, and they do that a little at the end, but it doesn't hurt the movie that much. But that was the biggest problem with the movie, was that last act, because I'll get into spoilers too after my food rating, which, oh fuck, I forgot to even think about my food rating. For some reason, I just forget to think about one, and then when I do the review, I'm like, oh shit, what do I rate it in terms of food again? F. Because the first thing I do when I watch a movie nowadays is I go on Letterboxd and I rate it out of 5 on there. And I gave this movie a 3.5 out of 5. And then you had the dad. The dad was really funny too. He was such a shithead dad, and that was really funny. He reminded me a bit of the dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. But then there were other elements of the movie that, as I said, they were very traditional, and they didn't work at all. And one of them was they tried to have this very forced sort of soap opera drama with the dad and the mom at the end. And I thought that was a weaker element of the film. But I still liked it. It just it kind of fell apart a little at the end in terms of everything. But then let's talk about, and the mom was pretty good. I mean, she didn't really have a lot. They kind of had to force her in at the end. But I was fine with that because she deserved it. She was the only character in the family who really didn't get that much until the end. And so if only it had been written a little bit better. But of course, a lot of the times people just argue with these types of movies. They're not trying to do a good job. And it's like, well, okay, then that's still not an excuse to me. Like, I don't care. Sleepaway Camp 2 was quote unquote funny on purpose. And I take that movie seriously. I love that movie. It's like a perfect movie, Sleepaway Camp 2. But then Psycho Goreman himself, he's a great character because this movie reminded me a lot of movies. They're very typical where you have these kids and they meet a supernatural character, and I really like that, but this kind of had a twist on things by having the kids able to control him. Another movie that this reminded me of, well, I didn't say one in the first place, but this reminded me of Suburban Commando, if you've ever seen that movie, but more of a supernatural horror twist on things. But Psycho Goreman was awesome. I mean, he was so funny, he was so savage, and how he wanted to be a killer, and he wanted to eat all these people and make them suffer for eternity. And it was kind of funny how he wasn't able to physically do any of that, and so I really liked that element of the film. I wanted to see a little bit more of the kids ordering him to do things, though. Like, I wanted to see him like, I don't know, like maybe they have a bully and then they make him beat up the bully or something. I don't know. Because there was one moment where they had him pick up the brother, and she said, "Kill my brother." And that was a pretty funny moment. More moments like that. And probably my favorite part of the whole movie was when they're just walking around town having fun. in the middle part where they go to the playground and they're going to play this crazy ball. And it's really funny that he's dressed up in like these human clothes. And then the police show up, and that's the best part because there's this policeman and he becomes like a zombie slave. And I thought that was one of the funniest things of the film. He's just this zombie walking around. And that reminded me of Return of the Living Dead. And so I really like that. You know, I would say Suburban Commando meets Return of the Living Dead meets Jeepers Creepers for me is how I would describe the film. And then, of course, Alistair going home. And then later on, we see Alistair at home. That was funny. I liked that. And then there was a really good line near the end. And I'll talk about the third act later on after I do the food rating. And I apologize for the sirens. You know, we get sirens all the time nowadays. It's really irritating. It's like, even when I'm going to bed, I hear a siren in the far background. It's like, God, what happened now? But anyways, there's this line near the end where, and that's one of the things too, is that you could kind of tell that they had a limited location thing, because a lot of the movie, they're either in their house or they're in this shoe factory, this old shoe factory. And especially at the third act, you know, it was really like, I didn't like how they relied on that shoe factory to do the last act. I didn't like how it was used in that. I thought it could have been a better setting somewhere else. That kind of brought down the film for me a little bit. But there was a really funny part at the end where the dad looks back at the factory after all the third act has happened. And he looks back and he's like, remember when that was a shoe factory? That was really funny. I love that line. But yeah, I really like the movie. I would say it's a pretty good movie. Just for some reason, movies like this that don't take themselves that seriously, sometimes they can kind of feel like one-dimensional to me, to the point of where it's like a bad thing. And in this case, it's a little bit of a bad thing, because after I watched it, I was kind of thinking like, yeah, that was fun, but like, would I ever watch this again? I don't know. I might. If they made a sequel, I might watch it again and then watch the second one, but I don't know. Like, it just, movies like this, like, a lot of people love these types of movies. You know, these are their favorite types of movies. Movies that, you know, they're kind of bad on purpose. You know, I not really for me. Not in my taste. I prefer movies that are more, take themselves more seriously, for the most part. But still, I liked it. And so, in terms of food, I would say that this is very much like macaroni and cheese that you get from the store. And what I mean by that is like, oh wait, no, that's a shitty rating. That's not good. They deserve more than that. No, this movie is like pizza that you get from the store. You know, on certain nights where you just want to have a frozen pizza and you don't want to do much cooking or get pizza from like shitty Papa John's, and you just go to the store and get like a frozen pizza. That's what this movie is. You know, if you know what you're getting into, if you know you're just having a frozen pizza, it can be really good. And in this case, I would say that this movie is a DiGiorno's croissant cheese flavor. And I actually really like that. You know, the croissant crust, it has a nice sweet type of flavor, but not too sweet. And then, of course, you have the nice, refreshing cheese and tomato sauce. And it's perfect. It's a great little pizza. And that's what this movie is. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great effects. Some good characters, but kind of flat characters at the same time. and the third act kind of falls apart. So, in terms of spoilers, I was so disappointed in the third act that, we should have just seen them play crazy ball in the playground, on the playground. And I knew as soon as they did that, I knew, like, oh, are they doing a setup? Are they just setting up like a third act thing where, oh yeah, of course, in the third act he gets to choose that his competition with the bad guy will be, I can't remember the bad girl's name, but he gets to choose, and he chooses Crazy Ball. I thought that was kind of queer, and then they play this game of Crazy Ball. That was kind of queer. I didn't really like that. It was fine. It was like, eh. And then they have a little bit of a fight, but it's really, you could kind of tell that the budget was a little, it was a little lacking in that area. And just like setting it all the third act in this shoe factory that, we've already seen the whole movie. And so I really wasn't a fan of the third act, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, I still liked it. I still enjoyed it. It's just, it just kind of felt like it was not as good as those first two acts, where they really set things up and they had this great little adventure with the supernatural creature character and then the kids. And then you have also the fact that in the second act, in my favorite part of the movie, when he's attacked by this gang of aliens in the forest, and then he gives one of them a quote-unquote warrior's death by eating them. I thought that was great. But then they repeat that thing for the last death of the film, and I thought that was stupid. I thought, like, wow, like, just, he's creative. This creature, he is a creative guy. He knows all these different ways to torture people for all eternity. He showed that throughout the movie. Of course, that was funny when he was having that one guy live forever, and then it gets destroyed, and he's like, "You destroyed my masterpiece." That was funny. But then at the end, it just to repeat something he already did, I thought that was kind of bad. Like, he could have done anything. He could have said, like, I'm gonna turn you into a hunky boy and then tear you apart and eat you then, or something like that, or I'm gonna put you in the ground like you did to me. Something different. I didn't like that they just repeated that. And then, of course, the ending was cool, where he teleports back to the world and back to, other places in the world, and he's just destroying things. That was fun. Because, who knows what happens next now? Like, he's basically, quote-unquote, the bad guy, but he's still the main character, which I thought that was great. Just all these little twists on things like that were really good. And then at the end, they had this forced sort of drama with the dad and the mom, and then the mom's turned into like a villainous robotic creature, and then she gets turned back into a human conveniently at the end, which that would have been another interesting thing too. What if the mom was forced to stay as a creature even after the end of the film? Like, that would have been a pretty dark ending. The fact that she lose all her humanity because of her husband, that would have been pretty dark. But yeah, overall, I like the film. I would recommend it. I would say that I really wish that I had watched this in 2020. It seems like the perfect film to have watched in the quarantine era, where everyone's sitting at home like little pussies. It would have been really fun and nice to watch this movie and just enjoy it on a nice, rainy Sunday like today when I'm filming this video. So yeah. Anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of the movie, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. I will be coming back with It might be a fan request. It might be a movie I just want to review. But I will have another video. I do daily videos. And honestly, I wish I could do more, but it's just too much to upload. So yeah, goodbye everybody. See you soon.